All right. I believe we are live. Yes, it's good to be back. Feels like I was just here. I was just here last night. Welcome to another edition of Straight Out of Politics. I'm always just a hair away from saying straight out of Compton, but that would be right too. So, Straight Out of Politics. And I have two guest hosts on today. That's going to be bringing the fire. We got a bunch of topics to talk about. We're going to cover the leaked audio of the Exxon Mobil lobbyist, or maybe he's an Exxon Mobil lobbyist, just talking about how they undermine legislation and how, and specifically climate change. So we'll touch upon that. We'll touch upon a couple of articles talking about Kamala Harris and how the Democrats are worried, and basically another article talking about how her staff pretty much gets treated badly, and which I kind of assume that just based off of Kamala's personality. And then lastly, we're going to talk about, oops, where did I go there? We're going to talk about Democrats' efforts. They created this new PAC in efforts to try to go after progressive challengers in upcoming primaries. So let me bring in my two guest hosts today. We're going to bring in Liv and Nick to the stream. What's up, Liv, and what's up, Nick?
Hi, y'all. Oh, my God. So honored. This is my first time. I'm Liv from the intersection. Guys, I'm so excited, nervous, honored to be here. Thank y'all. Let's get into this. I'm so excited. I was so ready after reading those articles.
Right. Awesome. Well, happy to see your energy. Nick, how you doing, sir?
I'm glad to be here. I always like jumping on CJ's show because I wake up in the mood to talk shit sometimes. So that's what I feel like doing.
Yeah.
CJ's like the perfect host to do that with. Yeah. So I don't even know what we're to talk about. I'm just down to talk about whatever.
Hey, yeah, it's the duopoly, basically. The duopoly is full of shit. America's failing.
Can I ask for a favor? Is there another view, like the table view?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's just this view always cut my camera off. That view or like another like
I'm trying to.
That's fine
too. Yeah, because sorry because this is my second time using this, so it's all
good. It's all good. I just like this one better because you see more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all good. But appreciate it.
I like this too. So, okay. So what I want to let's bring up this first article, not the Exxon Mobil one. Let me share my screen actually here, and this first one is going to be House Democrats launch a PAC. Let me know if you can or can't not see that. I can see it. There we go. All right. So, so this article titled "House Democrats Launch PAC to Fight Progressive Primary Challengers," and the founders are among some of the top fundraisers for corporate PACs in the House caucus. And basically, the article talks about how House Democrats are gearing up to protect incumbents, and in this particular article, they talk about two incumbents in particular that they're trying to protect from progressive challengers. Now, let me read this part here. Now, the name of the PAC is Team Blue. Now, imagine, can you remember vote blue no matter who? So that kind of ties in it to me. It kind of ties into that. So I'm going to read this excerpt right here from the article. Team Blue PACs, three founders were in the top 13 corporate PAC money recipients among all House Democrats in the 2020 election cycle, according to Open Secrets. So basically, this PAC is not playing around. They're bringing in the top dogs to start this PAC out because they are deathly afraid. They can see what's happening, that people are waking up in my opinion. I'm going to come back to this article, but for right now, let's go back to the discussion. So what do you guys think? I'm going to start here with Liv, or guys and gals, I should say, think about just this concept that the Democratic establishment, they are definitely afraid of, they see Cori Bush, they see Jamal Bowman, and they're just like, hey, what's going to happen? We started with AOC, or maybe it was a couple before AOC, and now we're here with Cori Bush, and they're definitely afraid. And there are two particular progressive candidates in that article that the Justice Democrats are backing that they're afraid of. But Liv, what do you think about that?
I think this is the Democrats and capitalism in bed at its finest. This is just them, like intermingling with each other. I have the article up here. Another quote from the article is that this is another way for Wall Street and corporations to funnel hundreds of thousands of dollars to incumbents just to stop the emergence of a new generation of progressive working class leadership in the Democratic Party. Now, I'll argue, I don't think it's just the Democratic Party. I think we are seeing a generational, youthful, energized, progressive movement across the world right now. And we need to challenge the Democrats who are taking corporate money and the Republicans who are taking corporate money and say, like, we'll get into more of this, like especially with Exxon and one of the lobbying and all the money that's gone behind promoting the fossil fuel industry for all this time. But we got to call people out and follow the money and see where people are standing. And my thing is always voting policy over people, doing your research, seeing where people stand on their policy, see if they are accepting PAC donations or if they are just doing small donations and doing grassroots organizing. But to me, this is just the Democrats being the Democrats, which is basically being the Republicans, just trying to protect their own capitalist corporate interest right now.
It's a vicious cycle. I get you, and I'm with you. What about you, Nick? What do you think about Democrats basically creating this pack of top fundraisers to make sure their incumbents, their corporate Democrats, stay in power? What do you think about that?
So my takes are always slightly different than a lot of people's because I do not give any legitimacy to our fraudulent system. Our political system is ran, owned, and bought for by the political class. Billionaires run this country. So there was a story that came out where you had a billionaire that was financing a military operation at the border. What does that mean? That means you have billionaires that have the power to, and where they can direct the military to accomplish their political goals and their political will. That's what we're at in this country. And now you have the left that is extremely weak, the Western left that's extremely weak. And now they're surprised that Joe Biden is not talking about Medicare for all or a public option. Why do you guys think that is? Are you guys new to politics? Are you guys seriously new? Because I remember Joe Biden had how many billionaire donors? He had over 100. And they was running ads against Medicare for all, and these health insurance companies were propping up Biden campaign during Super Tuesday, which helped him cross the finish line. So you think that Joe Biden's gonna betray his class? You think he's gonna betray his bosses? You think he's gonna betray the people that pay his paycheck?
No.
Lincoln Project gave them millions of dollars in advertisement. And you think they're going to go to the left of the George Bush Republicans who infiltrated the Democratic Party? So this is not surprising to me.
It's not surprising at whatsoever to me, but I think the larger point, I have my doors open. I'm in Cali, so it's kind of hot today, so I have my doors up. So you may hear some outside noise, but so what the larger point to me about, because I mean, why we need a new PAC is my thing. Why do you need a new PAC? You need a new PAC that has a target focus to keep these particular Democrats or just corporate Democrats, corporate incumbents in power. Because even though the Democratic Party have a high likelihood of eventually co-opting any progressive that is elected, they still don't want to have to, go through that whole process, the whole, thing they did with AOC. Because remember, although AOC is a completely different person than she was in the beginning, remember in the beginning, she sat with protesters outside of Nancy Pelosi's office for a while. I forget what she was protesting at the moment, but remember, she was one of them who sat with those people. But now she calls those people mama bears. So yeah. But they still don't want to have to go through the process of having to co-opt the person, because it is a lot of work to co-opt somebody, I guess I would assume. So what do you think about that, Liv?
I think I'm still recovering from this 180 AOC has done. And the whole squad, and the fact that they are now just like not a squad, they will not vote as a block. So what the fuck is the point of a squad? So if you're not going to do that, they're just pointless to me. And I'm really sad to see Cori Bush like following the same path. It really breaks my heart. But you know, this is just the reality of what happens when you take corporate money. You're just going to keep perpetuating the corporate interest, which is perpetuating the capitalist system, which is a fraudulent system. So like, this is just, I don't know, like, we just got to call them out. We just got to be the consumers, the voters. And this is why I keep pushing for the need for a general strike right now, because the climate apocalypse is upon us. And we need to start making those radical demands to make sure we have a habitable, sustainable planet for all of us for generations to come, not just for like the 1% to live like nice and whatever they want to until like humanity ends. Like, we all need to be living on this planet together and getting corporate interests out of this and making it the people's interests.
Right. And I saw you kind of chomping at the bit, Nick. Were you going to say something there?
No, everything that Liv brought up was amazing and brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to add, and this is what I cover on my show, and this is how we want to build our audience to expect. We cover the issues, and what I focus on as a citizen journalist is the class war, foreign policy, and state violence. That's kind of my focus. And you have like the progressives who are weakening on this issue. We were talking about Exxon, and I view this in the lens of the class war. Like I said, I covered the class war. I covered state violence and corruption. And if you are not covering this on a class basis, if you're not covering how an answer to the climate crisis is eating the rich, because the top 10% are responsible for 50% of the global emissions. You have like the top 1% of the corporations that are responsible for the climate crisis, but then they're trying to put it on ordinary workers. That's the class war. They want us to make the sacrifices while they continue to make billions and billions of dollars. So this was widely reported. It was Exxon, you had Chevron, you had Shell, BP, and other oil giants. They knew their products threatened to render the Earth climate uninhabitable, but they lied about it to the public. So at this point, I want people to realize that the climate crisis is already too late to like prevent it. So we have two things we can do as activists now. We gotta make sure we prevent and ease the damage that already about to happen. But the second thing, maybe because I'm a vindictive motherfucker, but we need to focus on climate justice.
Yes.
Climate justice. So Exxon, these executives that made millions and millions of dollars over the years, lying to us and pretty much doomed our society and and the future for our kids. Like, there's literally stories of you have right wingers that like, oh, I think this shit is going. Like, people are panicking now because of the heat waves. So people are actually seeing them. Now we like, it's too late. We warned you motherfuckers like 15 years ago. It's too late now. So it's like, all right, at least let's get the people that caused this, and so they don't live a life in luxury and pass that generational wealth of blood down. Right? That's where I come from. Go ahead, CJ.
No, I thought Liv. I still looked like Liv was on the edge of her seat. So I'm gonna give her the floor. Go ahead.
I'm all about climate justice right now, because climate justice is racial justice. It's economic justice. It's humanity. It's human justice, and it's animal justice.
Does climate? Oh, that was the point I was getting to. Climate justice means literally taking these people to trial. That is killing our planet. Is that? I'm just trying to make that clear for our audience. That's what you mean.
I want accountability. I want full accountability for these assholes to be put on trial to say, we did this, we knew this, we fought this information to keep our industry perpetuating and to keep us rich, and get full accountability. I want us to be starting to be full emissions clear by like 2025. I want us to start working towards that because 2030 is too late. And we got to start working now. Like, we got to get this pressure going now. We got to get to the streets now. We got to start saying, we're not going to work for you if you're going to do this now. We got to start doing mutual aid now. We got to start helping people like off the streets and getting housing justice during these heat waves that just killed people. And now we have a hurricane coming that's going to wipe out all these other people. Like, we need justice now.
And what is our government? That's always... What is the government for if the government is not for this situation? What's happening right now? What is the purpose? What do we need you for? It's not simply to build roads. It is the survival of existence, of humanity, like at least on this continent, and in this case of the planet. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, even as a capitalist, wouldn't you want the planet to live on so you can keep making money?
Yeah.
I mean, from your point of view, I want to exploit people for 500 years, not 100 years. Like, I don't understand just the rationale behind not caring about that particular thing. What were you going to say, Nick?
This is the massive propaganda. And I always laugh when people think I'm exaggerating when I say the United States is the most propagandized country, but this is because of propaganda. The United States propaganda convinced people that the role and the function of the government is to use state violence in order to uphold capitalism.
Mm-hmm. And white supremacy. Don't forget that little part.
Yes, that's a great point too. So let me repeat that point. Now I'm going to expand on that. Because what capitalists believe, they believe the role of government is to use state power to expand capitalism, white supremacy, and U.S. dominance. They don't believe the government should provide people health care.
Nope.
They don't believe they should provide people education. They don't believe that they should actually improve people's lives. So when I say they believe the government should be used in terms of expand the state violence and expand capitalism, why do you think the prison industrial complex is a thing? Why do you think the military-industrial complex is a thing? And when you press these neocons about why they advocate for giant military budgets and endless war, when they have no other argument, they always go to, oh, well, you got a lot of people who have jobs. Don't remember, they always use that, don't they? And then I respond that we can just have good economic policies, you moron. So the military is an inefficient job program. Right. Yeah. You can just have a federal job program guaranteed. Because the military is inefficient because a lot of people can't physically qualify. There's an age limit. If you're handicapped, there's probably not a good chance you can get in there. So if you had a federal job guarantee, it's an efficient way because you can qualify a lot of different people and we can solve a lot of different problems. But the military is inefficient. Law enforcement is an inefficient way to have an employment job program and economic system. But this is what our neocon capitalists believe. And they are treated like serious people.
Yeah.
How does that make sense? Well, the system they advocate for makes no sense. But go ahead, CJ.
No, I was gonna say it doesn't make any sense because your blinders of propaganda are off. You get what I'm saying? Like, so when somebody is telling you the opposite, or when MSNBC or CNN or New York Times is saying something that's just fraudulent, it's not seeping into your brain, and you're not believing it. But we had this comment here. I couldn't tell. Nick, if they were talking about Missouri allows citizen ballot initiatives. You can have state. What are they talking? Do you know what this means?
I think ballot initiatives. And this is something I advocated for before because we need to stop pretending that the politicians are going to save us. So a good way we can build working class solidarity, and we have done this in Missouri, where apparently, remember, we're not supposed to work with conservatives and right wingers, right? But we passed the Medicaid expansion. So if it was up to these people that always like, oh, you can't work with right wingers, that would never happen. The problem is we live in a corrupt government. Well, we got the Medicare expansion done through ballot initiative, and then we have our Republican senator that blocked that. Our government that blocked that. They said that's unconstitutional. When they give bank bailouts to billionaires and to corporations, that's constitutional. But then the courts ruled, and the governor sided with them and said our Medicaid expansion that the people passed is unconstitutional. And then you guys want to talk about electoral politics?
Yeah,
They just denied the will of the people. This is why me and CJ talk about strikes.
Right.
I'm like, when they did that, if we had a competent, class conscious society, we should have a general strikes in Missouri when they did that. Wait, what? You gonna say we can't have Medicare expansion after we, the people, voted for that? Shut shit down. But we're not.
Well, I think you're pointing out, Nick, how every government entity, cannot be trusted. Like you know what I mean? Every government entity. So, for example, you say about the court systems ruling against us. Who cares? Like, how efficient or how much justice can people get out of a court system when the corporations who installed the judge? You get what I'm saying? Like, the corporations installed the judge. So what exactly you think they're going to rule against any corporation? They're absolutely not. So it comes to where the judges are bought off. The politicians are bought off. Like, there's no redress. We have no way of saying, hey, this is what the people want. This is the people will. And this is what we want to have happen. Oh, you don't want that? Then let's go to courts. But the court system is also effed up. I was gonna say something else, but I'm trying to, keep the.
I want to add one thing that back. I want to add one thing that back up your point.
Yeah.
And people always wonder, like, oh, why don't you care about the Supreme Court? This is why we should vote Democrats. And I tell people the Supreme Court has never been on our side, and the Supreme Court will never be on our side. The institution is lost. We need deeper destruction of our institution. I would about to say reform, but they're not going to allow us to reform it. So we need to destroy these institutions because the Supreme Court will never be on our side. Because, by the way, I covered this on my show 3 weeks ago. Nestle and Cardinal win child slavery case at the Supreme Court. Liberal judges, the people we supposed to support, they always side on behalf of the corporations. That's why I'm glad you said that, CJ. Because as a leftist, I bring this up, and then the liberal mind can't comprehend it. Oh no, what we gotta fight against right wing judges. I'm like, the liberals are right wing judges.
Yeah, I love how you say the liberal mind is just something they will not. It is not going to seep into their head because it's Martin Luther King Boulevards. It's Juneteenth holidays. It's nothing tangible, nothing economical, and doesn't matter who is in on the Supreme Court. Yeah, they might, social issues, they might have a slight difference, very slight difference. But when it comes to economics, when it comes to corporations and their power, they're all on the same page about that. Yep. And that's Liv, what were we going to say, Liv?
Oh, I don't know. I honestly, because I feel like I was about to start leading into our next topic with Kamala Harris.
No, it's a great segue. I wanted to get your comments on this before I brought up the next topic. So let's do that. So the next topic is let's go to the Exxon Mobil thing. Since we're talking about climate change right now, let me go ahead and share this article here. Give me 1 second here. Have some good comments in there. If you guys checking out, some people complimenting you. This is NPR. Okay, let's share this one. All righty. All right. So this is an NPR article. The original article, or the breaking article, was a New York Times article.
Wait, I was just reading this. I didn't finish it, but I was just reading it before we got live.
Yeah,
but I'm glad you brought this up, but go ahead.
No, the New York Times article requires you to have a membership, and that's not going to fly with Compton J. I'm not getting no membership with them. But this is the article for NPR. Exxon lobbyists caught on video talking about undermining Biden's climate push. So industry comments made by an Exxon Mobil lobbyist to undercover activists may figure prominently in upcoming congressional hearings about the role of oil companies in the battle against climate change. Yeah. Video clips released by the Greenpeace investigation project, I guess that's called Unearth, show Keith McCoy, the oil giant senior director for federal relations, talking frankly about ExxonMobil's lobbying strategies. Channel 4 from the UK first reported the comments. McCoy was tricked by the activists who said they were job recruiters. He talked about working with shadow groups, supporting a carbon tax that he believes will never happen, and influencing senators to weaken climate elements of Biden's infrastructure plan. So, I mean, the left is just like, hey, this is something like we already kind of knew this. Not kind of, we already knew this was going on. It's, one front facing, hey, yeah, we're for this, we're for that, we're for this. While all in the background is what's really going on. And I'm going to go to Nick first on this. But what do you think specifically how they're talking about undermining, or how they undermined it, or some of the strategies to undermine the Biden infrastructure plan, the plan that's going on right now, how it was dwindled down to basically a joke. What do you think, Nick, about that?
And you had Democrats that say, "Oh, we gotta save our democracy." What democracy?
Did we have one? When did we have one?
The billionaire class decides the direction and policy of our country. They are. Obama and his entire economic team was built from Wall Street, just like Biden, just like Trump. Yep. We can't vote. We can't even vote these people out. Like if we wanted, like if you was into electoral politics and your goal was, I want to get Exxon Mobil out of politics, I want to get Goldman Sachs out of politics. What is your path to do that? Good luck. They write the policy, they dictate the terms, and then the neoliberal capitalists, they follow them step and lockstep. That was Joe Biden's entire career has been. Now, this shows how extremely right-wing the country is. Because Joe Biden and his economic ass was so low. It was so trash. But even then, they still say, oh, that's too much. The bare minimum, we talk about living wage. I tell people, like, I'm not even that excited about living wage anymore. I'm for a thriving wage.
Yes.
At least 24,
27. Strike in the comments. Let's go.
Yes. Yeah. So
let's go.
We can afford a thriving wage, but they can't even give us $10 an hour. They can't even give us $15. And that's trash. So just they are greedy and they will never give up an inch, especially with these meek tactics that you see some progressives take. Where they're like, oh, we're going to be nice and sympathetic to these people. And then if we become their friends, they'll start listening. No, they will not give us an inch. We asked for Medicare for all. Like we talked about this before, CJ. We're for nationalizing healthcare. That's really the solution. Medicare for all is already the ass. We can't get the ass of the ass, the public option, which is actually horrible. But we can't get the ass of the ass. And you guys think that you can like influence the Democratic Party to somehow be sympathetic to our movements? That's ahistorical. And then the exact opposite is happening. I'll cover this on my show and I pass it right back to you, CJ. The Biden administration is using the fact that the progressives and the left voted for him, even though he was running to Trump's right on law enforcement in order to pay the police more. That's what Jim Psaki said. They was asked about it and said, hey, they were like, hey, we was open about the fact that we want to fund the police more, and we won in overwhelming fashion on that message. So we're gonna do it. And then that like completely debunks the whole put by left crowd, doesn't it?
Right.
They should never be taken seriously ever again.
And you notice mainstream media playing their part with the crime rate is skyrocketing. You notice mainstream media is playing their part in that. Let me just tell you this. I don't believe anything, any reports, any numbers that come out of any law enforcement department whatsoever, especially when your whole point is to get more money. Of course, you're going to say the crime rate is going up. But why is the crime rate going up? Are you talking about funding schools? What about bringing opportunities? Do you think that anybody who's committing crime, let's talk about gang members down here at Compton in LA. Do you know if you went down there and you told them, hey, here's a job, $35 an hour, 40 hours a week, do you know they will say, sorry, guys, I'm out this gang right here. I'm about to go get this job. Like, you get what I'm saying? Opportunity is what they need. The police don't need any more money. How about you give the money to the people who need it? Defund the police, shift those funds to help these communities that are having these upticks in crime. So Liv, what were your thoughts, or what were you going to say about all of that?
Crime. Yeah. Let's talk the fucking root causes of crime, which is not having a livable wage, not having a home, not having access to healthcare or affordable healthcare, not having access to food or healthy options of food, not having access to clean water. Okay, so let's talk about those root causes and what's causing them. We need to break this down. And in order to do that, we need systemic change. We don't need this incrementalism bullshit that's been happening. We need systemic radical change. And that's only going to happen if we completely rebuild this whole fucking system, which means a total revolution. And that starts, in my opinion, with a general strike. And I feel like we've been bubbling there. Like, I feel like there's talks, like we're like, whoa, this is so wrong. Progressives giving Biden exceeding expectations, like, and then giving him an A, like, what the fuck? And I think people are like really starting to see more that I know I definitely am about who the Democrats are and how they aren't that different from the GOP. So what do we have to do? We got to take the power to the people, and we need to get, what also blows my mind. So the power to the people, let's talk about that. We took to the streets last fucking summer, and we saw a multicultural class historic turnout of protests across the country, across the world, against police brutality and claiming Black Lives Matter, and we need systemic racial justice now. And what did we get? We got Derek Chauvin getting 22.5 years of murder. We got more funding for the police budget for the Capitol, who refused the help for the January 6th riot, and then got more money because they were too stupid to take that threat seriously, because we don't take white threats seriously here in America. Well, maybe now we will, but we definitely didn't prior to January 6th. And now we're funding the police budget more, and we got Juneteenth. Like, no, we want racial systemic change. We want to, in my opinion, not only defund the police, but abolish the police and replace them with, we're completely rebuilt. I don't think you can talk about rebuilding America without rebuilding every individual institution of the American system. Right. And we need to definitely look at law enforcement and how we provide those services of what we consider law enforcement. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their home.
Just think about it. I do this all the time. I just think about in your own lives. When can you tell a story when police have stopped crime?
Wow.
Like, just think about it. All my interactions with police have been writing tickets.
Yep.
Pulling me over because my hat is backwards. I had that. Pulling me over because my music was too loud. Like, what exactly do? They write tickets. They pull people over for no reason.
They show up after crime happened.
Yeah, and you show up after crime, and then if you show up
with weapons,
if you show up after crime of a person where the victim is a person of color, that person of color victim actually might become a person behind bars.
So my question,
they show up, that's happened where, you called me because you were in distress, but let me see you, or do you have a warrant? What? I'm the victim. So my point being is that even with you notice they go, crime rate is going up, crime rate, we need to fund the police, but the police don't stop crime. No. They're not. This is not the minority report. They're not there before crime begins. They're not even good at the job that they're supposed to have, which is solving crime. They're not even good at that. And I just don't understand it when we're talking about that. But Nick, what do you think about all of this? Any part of that you want to talk about?
The police state make morons out of the right wing and the liberal class because it shows the hypocrisy. And I pose this question: conservatives have not received an answer yet. I know you guys see my tweets. I asked you guys if you really believe in gun rights, why is it justified for a cop to shoot someone just because they have a gun? Over and over again, they use the fact that, he had a gun, so we will justified in shooting him. So if the police is justified in shooting us because we have a gun, that means we de facto do not have gun rights. Yep. They were like, we need a hero with a gun to stop a mass shooter. So we need a good guy with a gun to stop the bad guy. So there was just a story that just came out where there was an active shooter and then a civilian with a gun killed the guy. The police came and then they killed the guy with the gun. They was killing black people who have literally gun licenses and gun permits to carry the gun, and they got away with that. So my question to the right wing, this is to show how you guys are hypocrites on this issue: do you believe in gun rights or not? Because if you believe in gun rights, that is not a justification for them to shoot them. And it's just like CJ said, these are the people who are not designed to protect us. Because you have people that have mental health issues and crisis. The cops come and they shoot them.
Yep.
So they not only do they not reduce crime, they are actively complicit in terrorizing our community. Because I share this statistic all the time because it shows why critics of defund the police are deeply unserious. Civil asset forfeiture is still more money from the working class than criminal burglary does.
Yes.
So it's not only that they don't solve crime; they are complicit with actually causing harm to the working class.
Hey Nick, can you explain?
Crime.
Can you explain that for some, people that may not be as savvy in politics? Criminal asset forfeiture. Explain what you mean. How that is? You're basically extracting income or wealth from that community.
So by all legal, moral, and intellectual basis, civil asset forfeiture should be unconstitutional. There is no justification for it. It's government theft. And what they do, with the justification they say that if you're a thief or a criminal, and let's say you were selling drugs and you made $100,000 selling drugs, they say you do not have right to that money because you got it through illegal means. So that's the legal basis they use. But that does not hold water in how it applies. So they will literally just steal money for anyone. They're like, oh, they may have got it through illegal means. But it's
suspicion of illegal means. Suspicion. That's all it takes. Basically.
Yeah, and then they go after poor and disenfranchised communities on purpose because there have been a lot of legal precedents where people who actually have resources, they don't aim for the upper class because they aim for the upper class, they'll get sued to death and they lose. So they go after the disenfranchised community, people who they either can't afford the legal fees, or if they do, it will cost more than what they lost. So that's how they win, and that's how they continue to steal stuff from people. And that's why I brought up that stat, because a lot of people don't know that if you look at the amount of stuff that's stolen by criminals through burglary, for example, that's pales in comparison to how much that's stolen through civil asset forfeiture the police does all the time, just by simple stops. Simple stops over BS. They impose the regressive taxes and fees, and that ties it to a lot of different issues like economics. So why is black and racial income inequality so bad? It's worse than it was at the height of the civil rights era. The reason why racial income inequality is bad is because not only do you have people who side with Wall Street over us, it's also the criminal justice program, because they did studies in civil asset forfeiture. 60% of the people that are affected are black. So what does that mean? That means civil asset forfeiture is a system designed, systematic racism, which transfers wealth from the black community to the ruling class. It doesn't go to our community; it goes to the ruling class. That's what's civil. And then they did studies in this. What do they spend money on civil asset forfeiture on? They pretty much pay for their bonuses. They get more weapons. They get fancy. They get armored vehicles. So the money that is stolen from our community is not even invested back into our community. It's invested to the white community, because that cop that live in a different community, he'll take that home and pay taxes on that in that area. He'll pay sales taxes on that area. So it's a wealth transfer.
So the police state is also being used to extract wealth.
Yes, and that's why you got to be
wealth from these poor companies.
Exactly. And that's why if you're going to be anti-capitalist, you got to be anti-police state. You got to be anti-imperialist, because all this connects. Yes. And I want to say one more thing. I know I went for a while, but I passed right.
No, go ahead.
Because we talking about Kamala Harris. Guess who supports civil asset forfeiture in California? Guess who was the chief architect of? And he gave a floor speech in 1991 about civil asset forfeiture. And he said, "Hey, this is great." And the justification I just gave to you, that the reason why they said we should do it, is the same justification that Joe Biden did. And then there was actually someone on the floor that checked him, because they was like, "Do you think that we should be able to steal resources from people without due cause?" And Joe Biden, being an unhinged right-wing maniac he is, was on the Senate floor and said, "Hell yeah, that's a great idea."
What?
Vote blue no matter who. While you guys talk, I'm gonna see if I can find a clip.
Yes,
I'm gonna find a clip while you guys talk, but give me some time.
Thank you.
Well, did you have anything you wanted to add, Liv? I'm gonna bring up a few comments, and maybe we can talk about some comments here.
One that I saw.
Yeah.
I'm still like, okay, yeah, let's talk about the root fucking causes of crime, which is poverty and hunger, which we're now calling food insecurity. And
you love how capitalists, hey, sorry to cut you off. You love how capitalists love to use language to soften what they're doing to people. So, but go ahead.
It's more propaganda.
Right.
It's more propaganda. We're whitewashing it. We're trying to make it a little sweeter to people to digest, but it's hunger. People are starving. And this is in America. This is happening here. And we need to talk about that and why that's happening. And that's because we have one of the contributing factors is the police state that we are perpetually funding and militarizing and putting money in. And I see one, police are enforcers for the establishment. Yes, they are to keep the law and order for white supremacy, to keep white people apparently feel safe from all the threats of the otherized people that America has always done since 1492 when we came here and we otherized people. And we've been doing it ever since. And we're going to continue doing it. We just did an episode on the intersection about the anti-trans bills that are coming up. The trans community seems to be the most popular community that is being the recent attacks of the right-wing community and otherizing them and trying to dehumanize and belittle their existence. But hey, you know what? Fuck Biden. It's Democrats doing it too. Biden didn't say shit during Pride Month about it. So you know what? It's just they're just as bad. They're just as culpable.
It's pretty sad. Nick, did you have what you wanted ready, or you wanted us to go to comments? I did have a couple of comments.
Give me a few more minutes. I gotta go through my bookmarks to find the video because I think it's very useful. So just give me one moment. I'm gonna find it. And then...
Oh wow, look at this one right here.
Yes.
Great work, guys. Keep the colonizers. What is she saying here? Keep colonizers safe from people of color. That's pretty much what you were describing. You're keeping the colonizers safe.
It's white supremacy. It's just white supremacy.
That is. I love that comment. Let's see if we have. I don't know the context of this one, but I'll put that up on screen. That looks pretty funny. I don't know the context of that one, but law enforcement is racist for dollars.
It's a systemic racist system.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. Racist for dollars. Like this is what I say about when they say, "Oh, well, there's black police officers," but it doesn't make a difference. And this is the analogy I always make is that let's say you have a plantation and you have slaves, but I hire, a black chauffeur and I have employees or of all races conducting the work of a plantation. What does it matter? The system of the plantation is what's racist.
Yeah.
The personal view of one person doesn't matter. It's irrelevant if you're carrying out the duties of your overseer, of the person that is your boss. And this is what I also say about progressives who don't take corporate money. It's like, who cares? You take orders from Nancy Pelosi, who does take corporate money, and you're acting on her. She is the leader. You're not acting out. You're not acting out your own ideas. So it doesn't matter if you don't take corporate money. Go ahead, Nick. If you have.
So I found this, and this is incredible. So let me share the screen.
And
I can break down what we were looking at here.
Absolutely.
And I still can't believe that this didn't come out in the campaign. Like for real. Like this is one of the things that didn't come out, and it's heartbreaking that how anyone from any disenfranchised community could vote for this guy. Because I tweeted this out under the Fred Elections account. And this is why I was explaining earlier how black people are targeted by civil asset forfeiture. And guess who's responsible for building this? So this is exactly why I tell people that Joe Biden is the most anti-black politician in the modern era, because you have crime bill, bankruptcy bill, civil asset forfeiture, so many things that he's responsible for. He was a puppet at Wall Street. Always took the side of Wall Street over black families when they illegally foreclosed on their homes, for example. But check this out, because this is incredible. Now, I found this from Don Winslow. He said in this 1991 speech, Joe Biden lauded his creation of civil forfeiture laws. His creation of that. This is tantamount to criminal conviction without trial. I mean, I tell you, this should be unconstitutional in any intellectual society. Now, I talked enough. Can you guys hear it?
I
think I had to. Let me do it again.
Is this something
I think I had to select the. I think I didn't put the audio.
Okay. No worries. If it's something
I got to put share audio. I didn't do it last time. Here we go.
Okay, let me bring that in for you. There you go.
Now watch this and unhinged shit.
Severe penalty. We changed the law so that if you are arrested and you are a drug dealer, under our forfeiture statutes, the government can take everything you own, everything from your car to your house, your bank account.
This is actually worse than I thought it was.
This is so bad.
What they
Hey, Nick, can you start that over? I want people to really hear that clearly.
Yeah, let's start that over because this is him saying
that's
this.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
It's not us saying that. This is him.
Severe penalties. We changed the law so that if you are arrested and you are a drug dealer, under our forfeiture statutes, the government can take everything you own, everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. We have laws in the last several years where we don't allow judges discretion to sentence people.
What?
Flat time sentencing. You get caught, you go to jail. Well, all of these tools have been at the president's disposal for the last 100 weeks and more. Now, if America's crime problem is worse than it ever was, it's not because the Congress has failed to give the president the tools.
So, do you guys know what he's saying here?
He's mad.
This is
mad.
1991. Listen, guys. This is 1991. So you guys know what he's saying? He is pushing George Bush Sr. to the right on criminal justice. This is the guy that Bernie Sanders told us was the lesser of two evils.
Right.
This is the lesser
he's
of two
mad
evils?
That the president is not doing more.
Bro, this is with George
upset.
Bush. This is George Bush Sr. he's talking about. He's not talking about Barack Obama. He's talking about George Bush Sr. This is a Republican. And he is saying that the Republican president is not using the police state fascist powers that the Democratic Party gave him. Let me finish the last few seconds, but I had to stop it there because I'm going to rewind it just a little bit back again so you guys can hear that again. He is pushing George Bush Sr. to the right. And this is the guy they say who's the lesser of two evils. Check this out.
And more. Now, if America's crime problem is worse than it ever was, it's not because the Congress has failed to give the president the tools. It's done its part, but rather because the administration has failed to use the power given to it by the Congress over the last 5 years, and in particular the last 100 weeks, to bring this epidemic under control.
And people got mad at me because I didn't vote for that guy.
Wow.
How is that the lesser of two evils?
It's not.
What's your guys' thoughts? I got a lot to say about this, but I remember I bookmarked that because I'm like, imagine that video came out during the primaries, and like if it came out, it probably wouldn't have helped because the media censored it. But now just imagine a scenario where that video comes out, but then we have an honest media like, yo, do you see this? Like this is on CNN, MSNBC, everywhere. Joe Biden would lose by a landslide.
Because as of right now, Nick, like you said, this is 1991. So right now, it's entrenched in the system. People that just kind of go, to the court system, they just kind of go, oh, well, if I'm convicted, they forfeit. I got to forfeit. That's it.
That's how it is. That's how it goes.
So you don't even fight against it, and it's entrenched. But listen to Joe Biden. He's the one who created this, or he's the one who wanted this to make sure this was being enforced.
The strongest advocate, the chief architect.
Advocate is just
the
amazing to me.
Architect. That gives me chills.
Yes.
Oh.
But what were you going to say?
I'm sorry, I passed to Liv.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say, Nick, about
the last thing I say, I passed to Liv, is that Breonna Joy Gray and Nina Turner was saying this. They was like, bro, why are we not going harder on Joe Biden? The weak Western left, led by Cuck Roca and Pramila Jayapal, they was like, no, we need to ease back our attacks to the Democratic Party establishment. Nina Turner and Breonna Joy Gray was like, bro, why are we not attacking them on this? Ask that question. I don't know the answer, but you know the inherent answer to that. Why not? Why is he saying that's your good friend? I was losing my mind.
Every time he said that.
Because I
every
said
time he said that,
people were like, oh, you're not going to vote against Trump. You're not going to vote for Joe Biden and the Democrats because you salty that Bernie lost. No, I promise you guys. I made up my mind years and years ago. There was no way I would vote for Joe Biden. No way. Like if Bernie Sanders didn't run in 2020, I would not have voted for Joe Biden. There under no circumstance, based on what I know of his history and his past and stuff like this, I learned recently. Like when you actually dive into the real details, actually look into his Senate floor speeches, where he's actually worse to his record, because a lot of stuff he wanted didn't even get passed and advocated for.
Yeah.
So like when you know that kind of stuff, and then you hear people say, "Oh, my good friend Joe, oh, we can put Joe Biden left."
Yeah.
You understand how crazy that drives me? You understand how I'm like, bro, they gaslight me into insanity, bro. Like, is it me? like, is it me? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. The idea that this guy, the lesser two evil, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. So any more comments on? I know we kind of I
also want to bring it up as well because I know I got us sidetracked, but it ties into Kamala Harris because this is what she advocated for. That's why I brought this up. I know we got a little bit sidetracked, but that's what this is about.
Well, then let's make that connection.
This is what Kamala Harris supported in California.
Let's get into Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris
let's see if I find some facts
sucks. And I just remember when Kamala Harris was running in the primary. I remember like just messaging close Black people I knew, you better not get on the bandwagon with no Kamala Harris. Like, I better not see that nowhere. Like, and I just remember sending that message out to people. Like, you don't understand how much I just can't stand Kamala Harris. But I actually, maybe more people than I thought actually knew. Let me share my screen with this article here, where it talks about Kamala Harris is crashing. So this article here, there we go. Kamala Harris is crashing from the Hill, but that doesn't mean she will never occupy the White House, which is absolutely true. The vice president's approval ratings are slumping. She is now underwater in the Real Clear Politics average of polls, and worse, she is taking the fall for President Biden's foolish reversal of President Trump's migration policies. The latest blow is a critical piece in Politico based on interviews with 22 current and former vice presidential aides, administration officials, and associates of Harris and Biden that signal a White House at war with itself and paints Harris as an unpopular and incapable public figure who has long presided over an abusive office environment. I mean, listen, how can you avoid saying that this now matters? Because this is not the first story about Kamala Harris being basically a tyrant over her office. And then you have these people on record basically coming out saying, yeah, it's pretty abusive. You can kind of get that sort of feel with her sinister, uncomfortable laugh. It's that laugh like, how dare you ask me this question? So I'm going to play it off like I'm not bothered kind of laugh. You know what I mean? So that's Kamala Harris. And it's the same thing I always say. She is one of the most unlikable politicians I've ever seen, behind maybe HRC, or maybe she is surpassed HRC. She is just completely unlikable. And that article, the other article they were talking about, I'll bring that one up later, where it's talking about where it goes more in depth about those 22 people. And then there was another article, and then I'm going to pass it to Liv so you can give your ideas about Kamala. There was another article where it's basically saying Democrats are afraid now. They're seeing how unelectable Kamala Harris is, and they are starting to fret, is how the word they use in that article. So Liv, what do you think about Kamala Harris? What do you think about what Democrats are now worried about her, and also just everything Kamala Harris? What are your thoughts?
So I saw in our comments we have Kamala is a cock Harris, and that is what changed my whole perspective of her when I was getting it when it was in Joe Biden had just been declared the Democratic nominee, and he was deciding his running mate, and George Floyd was just murdered, and Breonna Taylor was murdered, and we were having these protests, and Joe Biden goes, "Oh, I'm going to select Kamala Harris," and she's a woman of color. Like, this is great. And that's the inner incrementalism that the duopoly provides us to try and keep us happy, to like silence us and try and like keep the lid on for a little bit. And Kamala is a cop. She was a prosecutor, but she's essentially a cop. And hearing that essentially changed my whole way I thought about her. And I just want to drop this real quick. When I say that law enforcement, aka the police, are systemically racist, I mean that because the police, our current law enforcement system, was created upon the founding of capturing, selling, and enslaving runaway slaves. So when you have a system that's built upon that, how do you reform that? And it's been this many centuries now, and we've tried reforming that, which is just throwing money and militarizing them. There is no reforming. There is only defunding and abolishing now. We are done. There is no more. And that is why the law enforcement system we have is systemically racist. And Kamala Harris has contributed to that and to the mass incarceration system that we have of our Black men in America, where I believe it's 1 in 3 Black men in their lifetime will go to prison. And that's compared to like the 1 in 13 to like 1 in 15 white men. And like, again, Joe Biden contributes to that. Kamala Harris contributes to that. They make a great team.
Right.
And it's disgusting.
An awfully great team. I'm just thinking that like Joe Biden, along with Bill Clinton, 2 Democrats, have been the biggest contributors lately of this failed state. Like, just think of the legislation that Joe Biden pushed, shepherded, architect, and think of the legislation that Bill Clinton passed. Like, it's doing some of the just long-lasting damage to this country, and they're 2 Democrats. But Nick, what were your thoughts on the whole topic, Kamala Harris, or anything you wanted to comment on?
First things first. Liv just killed it once again.
Thank you.
I had to say this just because I was looking at the chat and it was asking for your Twitter. So that's why I love doing live shows.
Let's put that up. Yeah,
I love doing live shows because you know when someone's killing it, people are like, "Yo, what's her Twitter?"
Thank you.
So let's get that. What
I saw Liv is talking light black. Is that a compliment?
Yeah, I think we follow each other. I'm not sure.
I think we do.
Yeah, because I
follow you. Do you follow me?
I gotta check because my Twitter is a shit show. So
that's because that's your famous as hell, man.
So I wanted to say that I want to get it out of the way.
Okay.
Because you outlined that absolutely perfectly. Now let me discuss the meltdown that's going on with the Biden administration and them leaking against the media against Kamala Harris, because you have, and I remember me and Jackie was talking about this before. We were discussing, will Joe Biden not run in 2024 or will he stay in? And I remember we agreed at this topic at first. Well, we were like, yeah, there's no way that Joe Biden is going past 2024. It's obvious they want to set Kamala Harris up. But now, after Kamala Harris shown to herself to be incompetent, I don't know why they're surprised, because they had the same problem when Kamala Harris had her campaign. It was right with staff issues. So this is the same thing we're seeing. She's incompetent.
Joe Biden had a track record. She has a track record.
Yeah, these people can only fail up so much. As Pete Buttigieg, right? As Beto O'Rourke. These people can only fail up so much. They can fail up a lot, don't get me wrong, but only so much. So now I think she had her limit politically, and they realize that. So now I think they're gonna keep Joe Biden. He's gonna run again as long as Joe Biden is not a corpse. Like, they're gonna put him. They give him all sorts of drugs. They already hide him from the media, and the media is so obedient to Joe Biden. They allow it to happen. So it's not like they're pressuring him to answer to the camera. They just put Jen Psaki out there, and Jen Psaki take all the punches that Joe Biden should be taking. That's the game. So you don't actually have to have a young president, someone who's active, who actually answers to the voters. They actually don't want that. So it's actually good. So even though Biden will be 81 in 2024 and he'll be 85 by the end of his second term, that it doesn't matter because they can just hide him. And then he's not running his administration. Do you guys really think? Do I even explain this?
No, he's not running it. Yeah,
so
he's basically Ronald Reagan 2.0.
So my point is, they don't need him to be top shape. So he, as long as he's not a corpse, they can keep. I don't think they're gonna have Kamala Harris top of ticket because she's gonna lose. She's gonna lose
too. Yeah, and I did content on this like before they were elected. I said if Kamala Harris is at the top of the ticket, they will lose. Like she will lose to anybody. Donald Trump, she's gonna lose to. Tom Cotton, she'll lose to. She'll lose to Marco Rubio. Like it would be the situation where where the Democrats thought they had with Trump, where it's like, oh, we got Donald Trump. This is gonna be, a slam dunk. That's what they're gonna think with Kamala Harris. The only difference is they're gonna be right, that Kamala Harris is that unlikable. Like the Black community doesn't like Kamala Harris. Like, how are you Black and you're of mixed race and you're not supported by the Black community, and she can't win that way. So. No.
We will never forgive her, because I have some receipts based on what I was saying earlier. This is from Prison Legal News. I actually dropped the link in the chat not too long ago. Kamala Harris disturbing, not in our chat, but just so for our viewers.
Oh, gotcha.
But this is Kamala Harris disturbing brand of criminal justice, and I'm gonna just read this quick passage because it sums up why Black people will never ever support Kamala. And if she had one chance, if Joe Biden actually, and this would never happen though, but if Joe Biden actually was a progressive criminal justice president, people may have forgiven her, but they're not. They're funding the police more, they're funding ICE more, and the police state is continuing to get worse. So that's going to make it even worse. But this is why Kamala will never be forgiven. Harris has taken similarly troubling positions on many other key criminal justice issues, including the use of solitary confinement, which is torture, civil asset forfeiture, which we just covered, the criminalization of sex work, which is aimed at Black women, the punitive residency, and other measures leveled on people convicted of sex offenses. She resisted key efforts to moderate California's 3-strike laws.
Yeah, that's
it goes on, but I'll stop it from there. But that article I linked in the comments is really good to go over her criminal justice record. And there's no way that you can read that and convince a rational, non-shit-lib-minded Black person to support her. That's why she had 1% Black support in December, and she had to pull out in Iowa. The vice presidency is a graveyard of political ambition. How many vice presidents go on to have successful political career? It doesn't happen often.
It doesn't happen.
And not many people have been in bad position as Kamala Harris has been. But I'll pass it back to you, CJ.
No, you're right. The last one I can think, the last vice president even get elected was George Bush, and that was because the person he was running against was so bad, and people loved Reagan, so they thought, just like people thought, Hillary Clinton was going to be a third term of Obama, they thought, Bush #1 was going to be a third term of Reagan, but when they realized he wasn't, then they quickly, elected Tricky Dicky there, Bill Clinton, to office. Let's go through some comments here, because I see a lot of great comments. I did throw your
my handle.
Your handle up there for those that asked for Liv's handle. There it is. She is a great follow. She's part of the Populist Voice Network. Which show do you host again?
The Intersection with Radical Pragmatist, Novi, and Rutile. We just did our first episode all together yesterday about the anti-trans bills that have been passing the country, and we gotta act, people.
Awesome. Listen, this comment right here, Super Chat. If Biden is a corpse, it'll be Weekend at Bernie's. That's pretty funny, because it would. I mean, you just needed like literally Bernie is the one propping him up, because that's literally just think about it. Bernie is the one who campaigned the most. Like Bernie is the one whose ideas they stole in order to get some progressive. So he is absolutely right. Go ahead.
Black in the Empire is a friend of the show. Big shout out to him. He always leave pretty good comments. But it was a progressive. It was the Progressive Army that won the Democratic Party the Georgia Senate race. That wasn't shit lib organized out there. That was the Sunrise Movement. That was the Progressive Army. That was the Justice Democrats. That was Bernie Sanders in the progressive left wing of the party that won them those races. But how they treat them like trash.
Right. This comment here kind of sums up is a good segue, because we should be ending this. I didn't even realize it. Now we're already past. It feels like I'm only halfway through this.
Yeah, it's fine.
We'll go a little bit longer, but this comment right here, we will save us. We have to. I mean, that is so telling, because we see that electoral politics is not going to work. Nope. Democratic Party is not going to do anything for us. We, just the Democrats, great. AOC, people like her, we get AOC in there. Now you see that she's primarily co-opted. And it's something that, that fellow Fred Hampton leftist Rome always says, it's up to us. Like, it's us. Like, no one else is going to do it. And Nick also says this, and also JB, other Fred Hampton leftists, like mutual aid, we have to help each other.
Yes.
Like, this is it. Like, so I'm starting to envision almost a governmentless society, even though the government's there, but we're kind of just operating independently of them.
Yeah,
we're not,
I love it.
Oh, you guys are talking. Yes. Oh, you're passing bills. That's so cute. We're going over here living our lives. You know what I mean? That's so cute. Joe Biden said that. Look at that. Look at him. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I believe we're going to have to do, because we're talking to them and they're not responding. So what's the difference? Like, we're speaking and it's like this. It's like they're just going, we're talking to a wall. So it's almost like we're living that type of society already. I'll pass it back to the floor, whoever wants to chime in there.
Yeah, because this is the message I've been putting out there. And a lot of people who are loyal to the Democratic Party, they don't like it. There's no split on the left. The split on the left is created by people who are loyal to the electoral politics and the Democratic Party, and they hate people who peeled away from the electoral process. Why do people go after Julian Assange? I see leftists smear Julian Assange supporters all the time. It literally boils down to one thing. They smear Julian Assange supporters because we called out AOC and Bernie for not calling this issue out. So they had to delegitimize the activists who support Julian Assange in order to defend their favorite politicians. That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
we need to leave these weak Western leftists behind and do exactly what CJ advocate for. This is why I'm a giant advocate. I'm literally not even lying. I'm like, we need to start planning for socialist communes, like for real, like actual real mutual aid and help uplift each other.
Yes.
Like, I'm beyond the idea that, oh my God, we got to support Bernie Sanders and the squad because they will save us. That's what they literally believe. That's what the Justice Democrat sympathizers believe. Now, do not trust.
I'm guilty.
Do not. We all been there before. I've been there before as well.
Absolutely.
Now, and I learned this through experience when I see our community get left behind and progressives sold us out to the police state. Once again, I realized that we on our own, and we got to move left, and we got to advance past the progressives in the Democratic Party. Because they want us to shut up and trust the plan. Do not trust anyone who tells you to shut up and trust the plan. don't trust them.
Not unless it's your mommy and daddy. Yeah, do not trust. Do not trust anyone. But what were you gonna say, Liv? It sounded like it looked like you were gonna chime in.
I saw in the chat hashtag mutual aid, hashtag general strike. Those two things, as I learned from Rome, who is at Unholy Rome on Twitter, who is doing his tour for the poor right now. We cannot ask people to do a general strike without funding mutual aid.
Exactly.
We need to be unifying together on those two things. First, we got to make sure the mutual aid foundation is there so people know we can trust each other. And I can say, I'm not going to work. I have these people to support me until you gave me, solidarity. I want a whole solidarity movement. Like, I don't want to unify with the fascists or the racists. I want solidarity of all the oppressed.
Can you explain that? This is the question I want both of you to answer. I want to hear your answer. Because some people don't understand the difference between solidarity and unity. And why unity you would not want, or why solidarity is better than unity. Can you? I'll start with Liv. Can you kind of just explain what that means to you?
I would actually like to hear Nick's.
Okay, let's start. Let's start with
really
Nick.
Like to hear him.
Yeah,
let's start with Nick.
I covered this when I did my criticism of Vosh earlier today, because there's a segment of the privileged Western left who demands unity. And unity is a weapon and tool of the ruling class. So they want you to unify behind a party, even though you don't have health care. Stop complaining about the racism problem on the left. That's divisive. We're trying to build unity. Yes, the squad, they don't talk about Medicare for all no more. Stop criticizing AOC because we're trying to build unity. Now, what's the difference with solidarity? Screw the unity. I want solidarity. I want you to stand in solidarity in my pursuit of getting health care. I want you to stand in solidarity with the Latino and the Black community that has been terrorized by ICE. A lot of people don't remember this because I remember during the height of the Trump administration, the numbers have changed significantly now because Biden just supported all of them. But like 44% of the ICE detainees was Black and Haitian. A lot of people don't talk about that. So it's not just a Latino issue. It affects all of us. We need to stand in solidarity with the Muslims who are bombed using U.S. taxpayer dollars. We need to stand in solidarity with Palestinian people. So what they will say, if I'm someone who stands solidarity with the Palestinian people, if you are a Palestinian American and you saw Joe Biden, who his entire career he was a hardcore Zionist, you like, okay, I can't vote for that guy because he's a Zionist and he does advocate and fund genocide, which he's done. He gave him a weapon deal and they launched another offensive. So if you Palestinian, like, okay, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden, the anti-solidarity left, which I talk about today in my video I released, they will attack that Palestinian who's a disenfranchised community, as a member of a disenfranchised community. They're like, oh, you are enabling fascism because you won't unify with Jim Crow Joe. You see the difference?
Yes.
They use unity to attack people who are demanding civil rights and the end of state violence against their people. So when I say I will not support anyone unless they are supportive of the defund police movement and Medicare for all, if someone is not supportive of those things, if you're not supportive of stand up for Julian Assange, if you're not talking about the serial bombers, if you're not doing these things like the Justice Democrats are doing, they were complicit with funding the police more. But I am supposed to unify with them, even though they don't stand in solidarity with my community.
Yep.
Fuck your unity, give me solidarity. Because once you tell me you support me on Medicare for all, once you tell me you support a thriving wage and you want to fight for it, you got progressives right now that's fighting a Medicare for all march. They're trying to sabotage that because they don't care about the solidarity, the fact that we need health care. They just want us to unify and follow their direction.
Talk more about that. Talk more about that. You said there's some Democrats that are against the Medicare for all march.
Yeah, you had Charles Booker that just pulled out because you have like a ton of people who are Democratic Party operatives. Like we have who are against.
Okay, that's because I didn't understand what was going on online with Charles Booker. So that's what's going. This is what the latest news. He's pulled out of that Medicare for all because
Sabrina,
he's running.
Our FHL sister Sabrina, she's the organizer for the Medicare for all march. My good friend
one,
Savage Joy.
Right?
Yes.
Boston? And they confirmed it. And because you had fucking Miami Geoff Campbell guy, who's one of the people I'm talking about who attack leftists because they are not loyal to the Democratic Party and they are not loyal to AOC and the squad. So he was like, ever since the beginning, he was attacking this movement. He's just the same way they attack Force to Vote. Anyone who's actually organizing for Medicare for all, they attack because the same reason they attack Julian Assange supporters. Because once again, AOC only tweeted about Medicare for all one time in the last 5 months. So we can criticize them for not fighting for Medicare for all because they know AOC and the squad is not going to go to the Medicare for all march, and that makes them look bad. So in order to defend the politician, they got to attack the Medicare for all march. They got to attack Force to Vote because they knew they was going to vote for Nancy Pelosi. So these people are smarter than we give them credit for because they get ahead of the problem. So they see us organizing for Medicare for all, and we already putting pressure on people in high levels of the progressive movement. And Charles Booker was like, okay, I'm gonna join this movement, and then they could not take that L because their goal is to crush left-wing movements that go outside the Democratic Party, and that's what they did. They were successful today.
So what do we say about these people that they're being complicit? Yeah. Like, why are you funneling us to this party that's doing this? Like, you get what I'm saying? AOC, Bernie Sanders. Yeah. Why are you trying to funnel people to this party that's doing these types of things? Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, and this is why people asking why I've been railing against the Western left. And if you're not part of the criticism, you know who I'm talking about. The people who had a guilty conscience, it says a lot. Because if you're a good ally and you see me going off on the Western left, it doesn't bother you because you're not talking. The people who get bothered, these are the people they're showing a guilty conscience. I tweeted out a simple link. There's a fact that showed from a CIA handbook how they disrupt left-wing movements and worker class movements and the tactic they use. And it went viral on Twitter. A lot of people liked it. But the people who I aimed at, those were the people who got mad because they saw the mirror get put up on them. So I shared people, they were like, oh, you are dividing the left. No, I'm not. No, I'm not, because if you're not standing solidarity with my community, your labels mean nothing to me. If you call yourself a communist, if you call yourself a socialist, but you supporting Jim Crow Joe and the Democratic Party while they are increasing their state budgets to go after the left, it doesn't matter what you call yourself. You're not an ally.
Right.
And I told you people I'm tired. And this was the straw that broke the camel back again. I'm gonna get right back to you, CJ, because we got
keep going.
We're gonna do another breakdown on this tomorrow because this is something that happened today, and I'm like lost my temper, and I've been tweeting about it because there's been a lot of people trying to pretend it's not happening because these are the white moderates that we've been warning about because they want to keep this false peace. Oh, we gotta keep the left unified. Why? I don't give a fuck. I don't give. What's the point of our movement being unified if you got to fight against Medicare for all? What's the fucking point? So your unity doesn't mean nothing to me.
What are we unifying around? What is the unity to do what? Like, you know what I mean? If it's not around an issue, Nick, what are they wanting us to unify? Just to support Charles Booker because he's not a Republican? I don't understand, but what are you going to do? So let me give you an example. So Republicans are against Medicare for all. Charles Booker is for Medicare for all. What is the effective difference if he won't fight for Medicare for all? Isn't it the same thing?
I don't even want to go if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't want to go after Charles Booker, but I'm a citizen journalist who's been blessed with this platform. So I feel like it would be irresponsible if I ignored this. So tomorrow, once I dive into this a little more, there's gonna be some tough words because this is some cowardly shit. I don't want to go after Charles Booker, but this is cowardly shit because he allowed Democratic operatives to pressure him for getting out this Medicare for all. Do you stand for Medicare for all or not? And this is declassified on the left. This is my last point. I'll pass it to Liv because this is declassified. They don't want to be associated with the left they deem not worthy enough to organize a march. Why aren't we deemed worthy enough to organize this? Because we not the professional managerial class? Because we don't got PhDs in Harvard? This is the class war that they're waging against us. They are classes. They are classist. They are biased. Geoff Campbell, the Miami guy, he put out a tweet and people shit on him for this for good reason because he said, if I'm going to have a Medicare for all march, I will make sure it's organized by professionals. What is he telling you? He's telling you that if you're poor, if you're black, he don't give a fuck about your opinion and you should stay the fuck out of his space. That is what they're telling you. And if I bring this up
about the issue, depending on who organizes it. To be fair,
CJ, there's not a lot of substance. It's all about dividing because they are a Democratic Party operative. So there's not you asking a good question, but they don't have substance. It doesn't matter how wrong they are. It's all about them defending their favorite politicians because the reason they're doing this is because they knew AOC, they know Joe Biden, they know Pramila Jayapal, they know these people are not going to show up to the march. So when they don't show up to the march, they give people something to criticize them from the left on. Because when the march happens and they are nowhere to be found, people could be like, yo, why aren't you at this Medicare for all march? What's going on? So they are getting ahead of the issue. The same way they got hit ahead of Julian Assange issue. Why are there people on the left that smear Julian Assange? It's to protect Bernie and AOC.
But let's elect some more squad members. Let's do that.
So once again, that's why I preface this with I didn't want to go after Charles Booker, but if I didn't do that, I feel like I'd be a hypocrite. Because I'm like, I let in my biases. Because I want a black man, I want a black leftist man to be the real fucking deal.
Of course.
I don't want to attack Charles Booker, but if he's doing this, I'm like, bro, I gotta be honest, bro. This is some fucking cowardly ass shit. So that's why I stand. But I pass it to Liv or CJ because I'm
Liv. I'm sorry. We've been talking a lot. What we want to hear from you though. What do you think though about this? Pulling out of not necessarily just him, just the idea that you don't have the stomach, you don't have the guts to do something if you claim you believe in this thing. So. You know what I mean? Like, why are you pulling out? Why is there a need to pull out for what? Is there a conflict of scheduling?
No.
Or you see something coming. Go ahead.
He's a Democrat. He'll do whatever his donors are pushing him to do. And he's not doing it. He doesn't care. I don't really care what he thinks. At the end of the day, he's a Democrat.
Right,
he's getting PAC money. He's serving corporate interests. You don't mean anything to me. You're a Dem. And I wanted to actually get back to what is unity versus solidarity, if we could, because I saw a comment, white leftists are selfish and self-serving. Well, okay, I'm a white leftist. Let's talk about that. So I think, in my opinion, unity versus solidarity. Unity is respect. Agree to disagree. Solidarity is respect and acceptance. You see me as the queer white woman I am with bipolar 1 disorder and a service dog and 2 emotional support animals. You see me as that person who needs accommodations, and you accept that and you support that, or you're not. You're either with that or you're not. There's no in between. There's no gray area. You either support that, you either support trans women as women, or you don't. And trans women are women, and if your version of feminism doesn't include trans women, you're not a feminist. So solidarity is recognizing and accepting everyone as a unique, complex human, but saying, I am not going to agree to disagree, that you want to oppress and or harm an entire population of people. I will not accept that. And I will draw a line. But what we need to work on, especially white people with this white supremacy problem that is dominating Western culture, is white people need to take the responsibility of having, especially white leftists, need to have the responsibility of having conversations with other white people across the board of all backgrounds, because stop asking people of color and other people that are oppressed to do that when they're living that on a daily fucking basis. So take the responsibility and the initiative yourself to have these uncomfortable conversations about, okay, this is who Joe Biden is. This is who Kamala Harris is. This is who Trump is. This is where their money's coming from. This is what we can do. Let's talk about mutual aid. Let's talk about a general strike. Let's talk about demands. That's solidarity. That's respect and acceptance of the oppressed and wanting to liberate everyone.
Absolutely. That was beautiful, I must say.
Thank you.
And you know, everything you said, it shouldn't be this hard for humans just to be happy. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be this hard. We shouldn't have to work this hard to get healthcare. Like, why is it that some people, I just don't want you to have healthcare. I don't want you to make enough money to pay your rent. I want you to come to my job and work 10 hours and you only make $40 that day. Like, I don't understand, why is it you can't let go and just let other people enjoy life? That's what's so jarring to me. Like, outside of politics, I don't understand that. I don't get that part. Like, you can squabble over how do we fund Medicare for all or healthcare coverage for all, but the fact that everybody's not on the same page, that everybody needs healthcare, that's weird to me.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs healthcare. You wouldn't be saying this about oxygen or water. You get what I'm saying? Everybody needs to see a doctor to find out, am I physically okay? So that, to me, that just concept of not saying everybody doesn't deserve this. But to me, it also means that it could lead down the route where it does become where do you even deserve oxygen? Let's decide who deserves oxygen. Let's decide who deserves clean water, Flint, Michigan. Let's decide, you get what I'm saying? Like, let's decide who, okay? The people who have the more money, let's give them the clean water, and the people who are poor, let's just give them, the lead water. That's fine. Mm-hmm. It's water. They'll survive. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's better than nothing. That's what they like to say. It's better than nothing. Always for Black people, people of color. It's better than nothing. So that's my comment on that. Any other comments from either of you on anything about anything?
Yeah, I saw down the I need to find our comments went pretty fast. There was a comment I wanted to address. I see we got a super chat, and I appreciate. I just want to say this now since I got a chance. I do want to thank everyone for the super chats, and
let me see. Okay, there we
and
go.
I see we got a lot of likes too. So likes and shares is how we continue to grow our platform. And make sure you follow Liv.
Thank
she's
you.
killing it today. She's killing it today. So make sure you guys
follow her.
And also see that tweet. And I covered this on my show before, but I'll show you guys this before. And you guys will see by the ratio that most people enjoy this tweet. But I found this tweet.
This comment right here, the comment about the CIA tweet. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna take it down.
I put this out there around the time. There were a lot of people that was going out to the Medicare for All movement. I was just letting people know. Some of y'all need. I didn't even say any names here. Listen to my tweet. It's very neutral. I said some of y'all need to learn about how the CIA infiltrate the left, and common bad faith tactics used to divide and conquer. Just saying. And number 4, like stuck out to my head because it said bring up irrelevant issues as frequently as possible. That's what the same people who are trying to sabotage this Medicare for All march is doing. Because they say, oh, you guys was infiltrated by a fascist, and then they ignore the fact that was immediately fixed. And left-wing movements are infiltrated all the time. That happens historically. Yeah. But when that happens, you fix it. But they keep bringing that up over and over and over again, despite the fact that was already fixed. So what that tell you? That's number 4. Bring up irrelevant issues. How go over precise wordings. People do this all the time. Yeah. Before, let's see. There's a lot of... be worried about the proper priority of any decision. This is the whole entire force to vote shit. Advocate caution. Look at 7. See, I'm ignoring the highlights because the highlights are decent, but actually this whole thing is good. Like, so don't put too much stock in the highlight. But look at 7. Advocate caution. Be reasonable. What does that remind you of? This is the anti-force to vote argument.
Yes.
You're like, oh no, we can't vote against Nancy Pelosi. What if it doesn't work? That's caution. Yeah. And then number 3, this is another thing they use all the time. Remember I said you only need a professional managerial class? When possible, refer to all matters to committees for further study and consideration. So you're not allowed to organize Medicare for All marches. You need a squad to do it. You need politicians to organize that for you. And I bring this up before, and that's the CIA tweet I was telling you. I didn't say no names. And I'm gonna share one because it's actually a giant thread. Because this was my point I made when I shared that. Because the people who spoke out of it said, I said, this is what I'll cover this just now. And I wasn't calling anyone a CIA infiltrator, but I was telling you guys, if you're not an infiltrator and you do the things on this list, what does that say about you? What does that say about you? Are you really a good ally? And then this is why I was laughing because a lot of people with guilty conscience was trying to get mad at me for this.
Dog will holler. A hit dog will holler every time.
Yeah. Once again, look at the ratio. A lot of people like the tweet. A lot of people thank me for sharing this. But I thought it was very funny. The same actors we're talking about, they're the ones like, oh, I can't believe you pushing this conspiracy theory. You trying to divide the left. Like, it had to be said. Now, when I see people trying to sabotage left-wing movements, when I see people smear activists, and I don't agree with all my mutuals. I see some stuff. I see some takes I don't agree with, but you know what I do? I move on because it's not a big deal. I'd rather challenge neoliberal. When I see people that trying to disturb and always trying to cause drama on the left and punch down, that's when I see people like, okay, they're doing the list. Yeah. You may not be an infiltrator, but I got that list memorized. Yeah. So I see these patterns. This is why I told people it's important to know. Yeah. But the people with guilty conscience, they had a lot to say about it.
Yeah, like I said, that hit dog will holler. It's like
you got for super chat once again. I want to address that, but go ahead, CJ.
No, that's great. No, you're right. Thanks for those super chats. So we got any more because we are coming to an end. Typically, we're gonna do an hour. Maybe I'll make this show 90 minutes instead of 60 minutes because the 60 minutes feels like we're just getting started. Right?
I tell you, usually when we jump on stream, man, we can go on these issues.
This is awesome.
I wanted to address that one because I appreciate the super chat. So I'm trying to get as much of those as we can. But either way, it was pretty fun. And
when you're talking, what do you have? I'm sorry.
I wanted.
Go ahead, Liv.
I was going to say to kind of go off of CIA infiltration and tying Kamala Harris about what another article we had today is about how she was sent. Well, she willingly chose to go to the border and say, do not come. And
that was awful.
Yeah, that was disgusting and horrific. And one of those countries is Guatemala, where we're seeing an influx of immigrants coming from. And today I learned about the 1954 CIA infiltration that caused the coup d'etat and took the democratically elected leader out of power and made him resign and elected a CIA USA-backed military dictator. And that was all new information to me, but I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like, this makes sense. And I was like, great, Kamala. So you're also coming out. She's saying she's tasked with finding the root causes of the migration problem. Well, I would love to hear you come out and say about the CIA infiltration that happened using psychological warfare on Guatemalan citizens that led to the 36-year civil war, including the genocide of the Maya people, and saying, what happened here? And I wonder why this could be something that is unsustainable for people to be living in and why they may be fleeing. And what should we do about this? And how can we fix this problem? How can we first accept responsibility? Apparently, Bill Clinton did accept responsibility, but I would like to see money go where your talk is and give some humanitarian aid and start with that. And then go from there. United Fruit, let's go. Yeah, let's talk about United Fruit. Chiquita International, I see you. And Dole Fruit competing. And their root causes in slavery and capitalism. Yeah. So United Fruit had the majority of like the plantations, the banana plantations in Guatemala, and they lobbied the CIA, the U.S. until they were convinced to use the CIA to infiltrate and put this dictator in office and do that whole thing. The lobbying efforts of Chiquita International, where you get your bananas, people, your bananas.
So my question is, in Guatemala, is the United States looked at as Russia, like interfering with their elections? Is it like, hey, Russians? This is an American spy. That's you know what I mean? Like, it's so preposterous. Yeah, it's so preposterous.
I'm so happy you brought that up, Liv, because I tell people, if you do not know the history of the CIA, you do not know American history.
History of the CIA, the FBI.
If you don't know that, you barely know what's going on. And I'm still learning. Like, you learn about the Guatemala coups that the CIA been responsible for. And then that makes Kamala Harris and Biden's comments on Guatemala seems even more disgusting. So that's why I'm telling you, if you don't know this stuff, you see what happens on the surface level of politics and you don't know what's really going on.
Yeah.
So when you know the action of the CIA, and then you hear stuff about Russiagate, and then you hear stuff about how Nicolas Maduro, whatever, the worst tyrant all the time. But even though the CIA has overthrown and got involved in over 70 democracies in the last 50 years, when you know that stuff, all this stuff doesn't add up. It doesn't make, like when people were trying to get you to be afraid of China, like Voss does, when he's trying to fear mongers about China, and you actually know this stuff, you be like, all right, the United States got 800 military bases, China has 1, so that doesn't make sense. This is why knowledge is power. This is why we have these conversations. Because if you don't know this stuff, you're a victim of this propaganda. You're lost. I'll cover the news. I'll tell you I'm a political nerd because I watch this shit. It's amusing to me because I'm like, it's almost amusing to watch how much they can get away with, how much they can lie to you. But if you know the history of the CIA, the military industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, you can see through that. That's why I want to add. Thank you for bringing that up, Liv, and go ahead, CJ.
No, I'm just saying. This we are coming to an end to this show, but what you're pointing out is that you're able to see the propaganda. That's why it's amusing to you. It's just that there's people who think it's real, and therein lies the problem. So there's a few things. First, I want to go ahead and give Liv the opportunity. What do you have coming up? What do we do at the end of the show? We just go around the table and find out, what do you have coming up? Any interviews? When is your show? The next taping? When is your show drop? You know, that type of thing. Are you doing any sort of activism work? What's going on with Liv?
Oh my God. Okay, so there's always a lot going on with Liv. You should know that. So right now, please follow me, and I will follow back, and you can see this journey that I'm going on as a newly elected co-chair for the Maryland Green Party. We are going through quite a lot right now. The Green Party across the country is going through a lot right now. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a lot of transphobia and transmythic bigotry, and we're at a crossroads right now, and we got to talk about, we really got to be having these uncomfortable conversations about what's happening with TERFs, with these radical gender feminists, we got to be having these conversations right now. Like I said earlier about trans women or women, trans men or men. If you're not a feminist, if your version of feminism does not include trans women, we got to be having these conversations right now, because this propaganda that's being spewed right now is very easily digestible and consumable to a lot of people. And the only way to dismantle that is by having conversations, by talking. Like, it seems it's the solution sounds it's way easier said than done, obviously, as most things are, but it's really just talking, having a conversation. And I find myself sometimes like not even having full-on conversations, like you know what we're having here today, where we're having like a 90-minute session, but like just little comments, like where my dad said today, like, wow, the weather is really oppressive. And I was like, well, Dad, I don't really know if I would use oppressive as the term for the weather, especially when I'm a cisgender, heterosexual, rich white male. I don't think I use that term very loosely. And like, so just kind of like the comments you put there and what you say, and, you know, follow your gut, follow what you feel like is right. And that's, you know, equality, not just equality, but equity and justice for all. And follow your gut, follow your heart with that. And I am hoping to figure out what's going on with the next steps of the Green Party or whatever, in keeping our grassroots organizing going and promoting, you know, just independent left politics, and giving what we want, what I believe, despite all this transphobia and transmissive bigotry happening, is safe, fully inclusive, safe haven for all, for everyone who believes in a new party for America, for the world, and wants to see systemic change, not incrementalism, not any more of that BS. We want systemic change. And absolutely, that starts with the power of the people. And we just got to solidify, collect solidarity together, not just unify together, but collect solidarity together to do that.
Absolutely. And Nick, what do you have coming up, sir? I heard we talked off before we got on live that you kind of be pretty busy. What do you got going on?
Yeah, so we have some big guest announcements. First thing first, I want to thank Liv for coming on. I follow you on Twitter. You speak a lot of truth, and we appreciate that. We want to spread the platform as many leftists as possible. So support her as well. I'm working on Streamlabs today. We're still trying to confirm something with Katie Hopper. So if it's not tonight, it'll probably be another time. I'll just always wait to confirmation. But we will have tomorrow. We had the main panel on FHL at normal time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. But I will be doing a special 2-hour evening show with special guest Max Blumenthal. And I'll have Jordan Charlton to talk about the Dozinger case that he was covering. Just once again, another example of human rights violations in our country. And it's because of your guys' support that we are able to grow and get guests like these and have these conversations. Because Max Blumenthal is the exact person I want to talk to when it comes to foreign policy and state violence, because we don't want to focus on the nonsense. We actually want to cover the hard-hitting issues. So that's tomorrow. So we have about 4 or 5 hours of content tomorrow. So we appreciate all the support. You guys can support us on Ko-fi, Patreon. The super chats also help out as well, because the algorithm has not helped and will never help us out. We are only able to reach where we at because you guys share videos, word of mouth.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for supporting us, and keep an eye out and hit the bell because we got more content coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Absolutely. So what I have coming up, well, I had the interview last night. I love the interview, but it's the beginning of a series, Trauma and Oppression. I just want to connect, bring to the light how these economic policies, these imperialist policies, aren't just hitting the pocketbook. Like, they're long-lasting traumatic effects on people, on children. Yeah. We had that discussion. I'm going to be bringing on Professor Zonkas. I think he'll be able to come on next week to continue the series of just talking in different areas about that. The other thing, Populist Voice, make sure you check us out. Just YouTube us, Populist Voice. That's what Liv is one of one of the co-hosts for the
I totally forgot to
intersection.
mention that.
Yeah, she's one of the
Totally
co-hosts
missed
for the intersection. So you can hear her voice, you can hear her opinions more there. She'll also be on Straight Out of Politics. She's one of my regular co-host, so you'll see her periodically along with some other hosts. Got some great people. Who do we got? Black Bernie Girl, aka Monica. We got Austin. He's also part of the intersection on the Populist Voice. But anyway, so check that out. Make sure you support us. Like Nick said, we're able to do this because of your support. And as long as you like the content, we do ask that you support us if you can. If you're not able to support, of course, the solidarity is also very, very valuable. We're all in this together. Okay, so
I want to address one thing, CJ.
No, go ahead.
It won't be long.
No, go ahead.
Because if we try to respond to people's comments
Chat.
and feedbacks,
I'm
gonna try to restructure and relaunch our Discord. And I got talked to about it with you, CJ, in the group. But before we had our page, we had it so if you sign up to our Patreon, you can get access to our Discord because we want to help grow our community. And I heard a lot of people say they want a Discord, an active Discord. So I'm gonna try to open that up. And since we are transitioning from Patreon to Ko-fi, I'm still gonna talk to some people on FHL and RJ about this, but I think we're gonna just drop the requirement regarding you joining Patreon.
Right.
I'll just actively mod it, and then we can have some loyal comrades from the community just mod. Because the thing is, we didn't want to. We made that requirement only so we can have good faith actors in the Discord, because we didn't want to get raided. But hopefully, we can get some allies. Myself and me and RJ are gonna work to keep it moderated. So once again, this is just an early idea. I'm gonna flow it to the team with you guys some more. But since we essentially moving from Patreon to Ko-fi, so this is to address some people who was asking. So that's coming up soon. I'm gonna try to get Discord open so we can really build a community on there as well. So go ahead, CJ. I just not remember that, but go ahead.
No, great that you did that, because I think maybe that might be the platform that might be the only one where we're not actively always doing something on. So that's great that you were able to answer that. So I'm going to end the show like this. I always want to make a call for people to exit the Democratic Party, and I'm making that call now. The Democratic Party does not represent anyone, but if you're a rich celebrity. So if you're The Rock, okay, I got you. If you're with the Democratic Party, if you're anybody else, you are voting against your interests by supporting the Democratic Party and, of course, the Republican Party. That goes without saying. I don't need to say that. So I end the show all the time by saying that exit the Democratic Party. You can catch us all on Twitter. Make sure you follow all of us. Thank you for joining this episode of Straight Out of Politics. I'll see you next episode.